Idle No More movement, spawned by First Nations, has gathered a lot of publicity in the news since mid-December. We're very happy to have with us two members of First Nations, Beth Newell, who is a member of the Lakota tribe, and we have Cindy Scouten, a member of the Anishinaabe tribe, known to us more as the Ojibwe. Welcome, and thank you for joining us at Diversity.
Thank you.
So I would like to ask you, you're both involved in the local chapter of Idle No More in Kingston, and can you tell us about your involvement with the local movement in Kingston? Let's start with you, Beth.
Well, both of us actually were asked, along with our other friend, Lisa Cadu, to get going in Kingston a local movement for the Idle No More. And we were asked by some of the men in the community to stand up and do this as the women. And and to have the women speaking and the women being the voice and to stand up, because that's often the way we do things. And we've had great support from some of the men in the community in doing that.
Okay, and how did you get involved in the local Idle No More?
I was asked by a friend, Paul Carl. He phoned me to see if we wanted to get something going, a drum group or something, down at City Park, across from City Hall there. And so I quickly got a group of women drummers together, and we gathered the next day, and that was the beginning of our first rally.
Okay, and so what brings First Nations together in this Idle No More movement? What are the main key issues that have spawned this group, this movement?
The main key issues are Bill C-45 and Bill C-38. Bill C-45, with its passing in early December, allows the government to sell off treaty land, and it also takes away the protection of millions of waterways in Canada. So this bill affects both Native people as well as everybody else in Canada, because we all need this water. And if they're allowed to build factories and other industries like mining and oil around and under our lakes, we're all going to be affected with nothing left to drink. And then Bill C-38, it gets environmental legislation, food inspection legislation. The government no longer has to report on climate change policies, no longer has to consult with First Nations, and there was another one. It also affects EI recipients. They would be forced to take lower wages and minimum wage and hourly wages. And so it affects a broad range, like most of these omnibus bills. And both of these bills affect specifically Native people as well as everybody else, because the environment is such a concern. And so, do you want to talk about the women who started that because of that?
Okay, Idle No More was started by 4 women from Saskatchewan, and when they became aware of Bill C-45, they decided enough is enough. So they decided to get this movement going, and they wanted to get everybody involved, not just the Aboriginal people, but the Canadian people, and it's actually gone global right now. And so we're supporting these women in the Kingston area and getting the word out and educating everybody on what it's all about. And it's not just about the Aboriginal people, it's about Canadians. Water affects everybody. We start our life in water, and one of the last things we have to drink is water. So, and our life all in between that involves water, and our trees need water and our plants need water, and so everything needs water. So if Bill C-45 goes through,
It did go through.
Yes, if it's passed,
no.
co-signed.
What we want is it repealed, because it went through on December 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Went through on December 5th. So what we're asking is that it be repealed.
Okay, so you're asking for the repeal of these 2 bills, and what else is involved in Idle No More? Is there, are there other, so there seem to be 2 different things going on in Idle No More. One is environmental, and the other one is with Native treaty rights. What's the measure of both of these?
It's because a lot of the waterways are on Native land, And because he's taken, it's gone from 2.5 million lakes on the environmental protection list down to less than 100. So a lot of the lakes, the smaller lakes on reserves, will not be protected.
Okay. And you've grouped with environmental groups? Have you made contacts with environmental groups?
No, but any of them are certainly wish to support us. Many do, to join us. And there's a lot of native concerns in these two bills, but there's also a lot of environmental concerns. And a lot of times the two come together. A lot of natural resources are on treaty land. And so that's why these both ended up together.
Okay.
And because then the government can sell these lands and use these resources in these lands. They don't have to consult with First Nations. They don't have to put out the environmental assessments. It seems like for the government, the payoff is money and industry. But
right.
for everybody in Canada, it's our health.
Yeah, yeah. So the Idle No More movement seems to have two, I don't know if we want to call them factions, but there's a kind of, let's say, a pacific faction and perhaps a militant faction. What's the relationship between those factions?
Well, I think when you mean the militant faction, you'd be talking about the blockades.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things I'd like to say about it, there are definitely people in Idle No More who do not support the blockades. Locally, we support our brothers and sisters in the First Nations communities that feel the need to do that. It is their land, and under international law, that supports, and the way the treaties are written, that is their own land, that is their own nation. They should be able to put up a blockade on it if they want. Historically, and still today, those who are doing that, they have never been violent. It's a pretty strong action. It's an inconvenience, obviously, but the First Nations people have been inconvenienced for over 500 years, so I think it's a small request to ask Canadians to be inconvenienced for a small time while we work at getting the attention of the Prime Minister and the Governor General to act on this. And but they're militant, sure, but they've always been peaceful. And any of the violence that's occurred at blockades in our history here in Canada, the violence has been on the other side.
Okay. So I can see that it's born out of impatience and desperation. There's talk, there's no action, and at some point you engage in extraordinary activities to gather attention, to galvanize people.
Yes.
And so...
But peacefulness is the one underlining thing. If you're part of Idle No More and you're doing it, it must remain peaceful and it must not be violent. And so there is a different stance on where the blockades fall on that, for sure.
Okay. There seems to be public misconceptions about, for example, you've been, that your movement has been compared to the Occupy movement in having no real leadership. Is there a leadership?
No, it is a grassroots movement. There are a growing number of chiefs who support it. It is a grassroots movement. It's been called to stay that way. But there is a clear, what do we want done? I think that's different than the Occupy movement. It's very clear what we want done.
What is it that you want done, apart from Bill C 45 and 38?
Chief Spence and other chiefs in Canada are on hunger strike with her in support of Idle No More, to have the Governor General and the Prime Minister meet with the chiefs. The Governor General is Canada's representative to the Crown, and the treaties are with the Crown, and that's why the leaders want to meet with both of them together, because as that representative of the Crown, when the treaties are violated, which these two bills do, they do violate the treaties, the Governor General can step in and say this is a violation of the treaty, because the treaties go back to the Governor General through the Crown, not to the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister can't go around making laws that violate treaties. And it'd be the Governor General's responsibility to bring that up and to stop that. And so that's what the big request is. Our leaders have called for this to be a revolution more than a movement. and to take the momentum when we accomplish this and to keep going to bring real change, to bring nation-to-nation communication between Canada and the Crown and First Nations people.
And what kind of support have you received so far from Canadians in general?
Actually, it's gone global. We've had support from around the world, from Uruguay, Egypt, Palestine, Britain, like all across to Mexico, all across the States. And every day we see a new posting from another country or another nation is that supporting us, that they're aware of I Don't Know More.
And what about in Canada? What kind of support have Canadians offered you?
Just the same thing. They're supporting us. They're joining groups. They're actually educating themselves more. People are asking us what it's all about, and they're actually listening. We've been handing out information packages, and they're reading them, and hopefully they'll spread that information and educate their children and their grandchildren.
So what can Canadians do to be supportive? What can we do to help you in your
They
quest?
can contact the Governor General, they can contact the Prime Minister, and they can sign petitions that are out there on the internet. They can come and join events with us.
Where do they find out about these events?
You have that
yeah.
information down. You can contact the local chapter here to keep up on your events through Facebook, and that is, go to your events page and search I Don't Know More Kingston. There's a Twitter account.
Twitter at I Don't Know More YGK.
And then there's an email account, which is I Don't Know More Kingston at gmail.com, and those are all capitalized. And so if you email but don't do Facebook or Twitter, you could email that email address and you would get replies. We have in our groups Native and non-Native supporters. And in fact, we had a meeting today with others who are helping us with ideas and helping us with, they set up these to make it easier to get the word out. They seem to be very good with computers and stuff. And so it's really nice because I think Canadians are understanding that this affects both of us. And really, all of us are treaty people, because either you're a treaty person on the Native side or you're a treaty person on the Canadian side. And so we're really all into this together, and I think people are really getting it. And I think when Harper rolled the environmental stuff in with the First Nations issues in these bills, I think that was probably his big mistake, because it's brought Canadians to realize that we really are all in this together.
It will be good to see that all the nations of Canada be united over a topic.
It's a pleasant surprise.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. It's been a very educational visit, and we're very happy to have you among us.
Thank you.
Okay.